I still remember the acrid scent of boiled coffee ringing through the cavernous lobby when I first met him. Our new CEO, Marcus the Hammer Halloway. It was a Thursday, one of those humid, early July mornings when the city seems to weigh you down the moment you step outside. I just parked my bike in the company's new green mobility bike rack, secured my helmet, and was already rehearsing the pitch for this morning's negotiation with the National Deaf Association, our biggest prospective partner. I'd been with Solace Tech for 8 years, ever since graduating from Gallaudet, the world's leading university for the deaf and hard of hearing. I'd started as a customer support rep, on-site, hands always dancing in American Sign Language, ASL, to help deaf clients configure our software. Over time, I learned the ins and outs of our product, rose to account management, and eventually became head of strategic partnerships. Along the way, I'd negotiated multi-million-dollar deals, all because I could literally speak the language of our deaf customers. My colleagues teased that I was the company's secret weapon, the only person who could crack open the Klieg lights of the corporate world and illuminate accessibility issues that fell in the shadows. That morning, I headed straight for the conference room, bag slung over my shoulder, laptop humming with the presentation. I passed the glass-walled CEO suite and saw people silently slipping inside, returning moments later with nervous smiles. When Marcus emerged, suit crisp, jawline sharper than a surgeon's scalpel, I nodded politely, as I always did. He offered a curt nod in return, his gaze flicking to a group of execs flanking him. Head of sales, CFO, and a fresh-faced chief of innovation who looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. "Morning," Marcus said, voice smooth as varnished oak. No ASL, no attempt, just words, spoken. I smiled. "Good morning." My fingers itched to communicate in sign, but we were still in the hallway. I flipped to spoken English, looking forward to today's session with the NDF. "We've lined up the updated accessibility dashboard metrics." They're excited. He raised an eyebrow. "NDF? National Deaf Association," I said, enunciating carefully. "Our potential partners to pilot the Community Connect platform. I've prepared the slides in both English and ASL video embeds." He glanced at the group behind him. The chief of innovation shrugged. Marcus offered a quick half smile. "Sounds good. Keep me posted." And with that, he swept into his office, shutting the door so fast I thought the glass might shatter. I exhaled, shoulders sagging. He seemed nice enough, faceless, efficient, corporate, but I sensed distance, a chasm between his world and mine. 2 hours later, the conference room buzzed. 10 executives from NDF sat on one side, some signing in pairs, others lip-reading my interpreter's voice. On the Solace Tech side, I was front and center, flanked by product managers and our CFO. Behind me, a large monitor displayed our slides, adoption curves, revenue projections, customer satisfaction indexes trending upward since we launched ASL support. I clicked to slide 12, the one I'd added at 2 a.m., a grid of video thumbnails showing me signing through each feature of our platform, calendar invites in ASL, chatbots, responding by synthesizing a signing avatar, notification banners with hand-shape illustrations. NDF's head delegate, Ambassador Lee, a tall, graceful woman with a shock of white hair, lit up. She signed rapidly to her colleague, then turned to the room and spoke in clear, accented English. "This is transformative," she said. "We've pitched every SaaS vendor in town. Many promise accessibility. Few deliver. You speak our language, not just metaphorically. You literally speak in ASL. We want this." The room broke into applause. I signed thank you and beamed. Our CFO elbowed me as the applause died down, leaning over. "Looks like we have the deal." I nodded, heart pounding. "Just need final approval from Marcus." Across the table, a junior engineer asked a follow-up question about sign-to-text language models. I turned to answer, and at that moment, the door swung open. Marcus stood there, arms folded, expression unreadable. The conference room door clicked closed behind him. He raised a hand. Silence fell like a guillotine. "Gentlemen and honored guests," he said. "Thank you for the presentation. Unfortunately, we'll have to put this on hold." My smile froze. A murmur rose from the NDF delegates. Confusion, disappointment. Marcus continued, voice calm. "I've decided to realign our strategy. Accessibility is a noble cause, but right now our focus must be on core enterprise deliverables. I appreciate the effort, Mr. Alvarez, but I'm shelving this initiative until further notice." A stunned silence. Ambassador Lee's colleagues exchanged glances. One signed urgently to another. I swallowed, knuckles white on the table edge. But you just said they wanted to move forward, the CFO stammered. I'm aware, Marcus replied, looking at me for the first time. But I have different priorities. I'm restructuring partnerships. Effective immediately, Mr. Alvarez. You're reassigned back to project coordination. You'll report to our director of integrations. Thank you all for your time. He swept past me, leaving the table rattling with stunned gasps I couldn't process. My colleagues looked at me. Shock, pity, fury. The NDF team rose en masse. Ambassador Lee signed to her colleague, then faced us. This is unfortunate, she said gently. Thank you for having us. Her team filed out, head held high. As the door shut, I sat motionless. The CFO tried to catch my eye. I shook my head. Silence lingered until the subgroup dispersed. I gathered my laptop, backpack, and exit, hearing footsteps behind me. Carlos, wait. It was Jake, my old mentor, now head of customer success. He blocked the hallway. His face was pale. That was brutal. I let my anger spill. Brutal? That was betrayal. I almost closed a $1 million deal. They described us as pioneers. Just yesterday, they celebrated my ASL integration in the quarterly memo. And he mucks it all up at the last second. Jake sighed. I don't envy you. But Marcus, he's changing the game. He's coming from a private equity background, numbers first. Numbers, I spat. Numbers that don't see the human cost. I pressed my finger against my wrist. The watch with the family name engraved, an heirloom from my grandmother who was deaf and taught me to sign. He doesn't get it. Jake nodded. I know, I'll try to salvage the NDF relationship. But for now, HR's waiting below to collect your badge. I exhaled, shoulders stooped. Fine. But know this, I am the only one who can sign. They'll regret this. Jake laid a hand on my shoulder. Let me know if you need help. Seriously. I forced a nod and descended to the lobby, leaving behind the confetti of charts and plans I'd laid out. My career at Solace Tech, shot down by a CEO who didn't see the language of accessibility as profitable. I sighed, bracing for the HR gauntlet. That evening, I sat at a corner table in a quiet cafe near the office, editing my resume on my laptop. Butterflies churned in my gut, fear, indignation, hope. I sipped black coffee, the bitter tang a perfect companion for my thoughts. I texted Maria, my partner at ClearSigns, the accessibility consultancy we'd launched as a side project 2 years ago. They fired me. Marcus canceled NDF deal. Reassigned me to nothing. Maria, WTF. That was our deal. We need to talk. Stay at Cafe Miro at 8. I closed the laptop, paid my bill, and walked home under neon streetlights. My mind raced, did I want to swallow the reprimand and stay, or jump ship to ClearSigns? But first, a trap. If Marcus wants to bury accessibility, I'll expose him. At 8 p.m., I met Maria at Cafe Miro. She wore her trademark leather jacket, eyes alight with indignation and excitement. She slid into the booth across from me. He did what? She said. Fresh pressed espresso in hand. I explained. She slammed her mug. He just torpedoed the biggest deal in Solace Tech history. Just because it wasn't on his spreadsheet. He's dead to us. I leaned in. We need to give him a taste of his own medicine. I have a plan. Her brow arched. Let me guess, you left a trap. I nodded. During the NDF presentation, I backdoored a piece of code. A compliance checker that flags deviations in signing interpretation accuracy. It runs silently in our ASL module. If the module deploys without calibration, if our code is used in any environment without signing accuracy above 99.7%, the module logs every utterance, every session, and sends a secure alert to a legal email list. Maria's eyes gleamed. So if they deploy diagnostics AI under their brand, without my oversight or your approval, they get a non-filtered feed of every ASL session. They leak PII, HEPA violations, and we have proof. I tapped my temple. Exactly. The footer they stamped confidential on. It includes an invisible watermark, unique to NDF-provided test data. If any attempt is made to replace the watermarked videos with their own, the watermark remains. We'll know if they pivot the code. We'll know what they misuse. She took a slow sip. That's brilliant. But do we expose them? Or use it to renegotiate? I smiled. Both. We get our consulting fee, our retainer, and equity. They bow to us or risk a massive lawsuit. It's the only language they respect: dollars and liability. Maria held up her mug, to the trap and to justice. I clinked mugs, to tomorrow when they think they've buried me. Back home, I polished the code one last time, ensuring the hidden compliance check module was bulletproof. I updated the server logs to transmit via our secure channel to legal@clearsigns.com. Then I closed my laptop, willed sleep, and drifted off, imagining the day Marcus discovered the trap. Because tomorrow, he would learn that firing the only person who could sign wasn't just short-sighted, it was suicidal. And that, as any deaf mentor would tell you, sign language is power. And I, the only one who spoke it, held the remote control. The boardroom was silent when Marcus strode in the next morning, fists clenched around his coffee cup. His usual swagger was gone, replaced by the jitter of a man who's just discovered a rattlesnake in his pants. I sat near the back, feigning busy notes, heart pounding as the door clicked shut. Marcus volleyed a glare at legal and IT flanking him. "All right," he barked. "Who's responsible?" He slapped a stack of printouts on the table. Compliance audit logs flagged, ASL module session transcripts exported, and watermarks traced back to NDF test data. The IT director swallowed. "We've traced unauthorized deployment of the Diagnostics AI ASL interface. It's running on our staging servers, and we can't disable it without system-wide downtime." A murmur rippled among the execs, a major cloud migration looming. Downtime risked millions in churn. Marcus's jaw worked. And the data? Patient timestamps, ASL video logs. This is a compliance nightmare. The head of legal, a brisk woman named Patel, cleared her throat. "Mr. Holloway, these logs indicate potential HEPA violations and misuse of personally identifiable information. We must pause the Diagnostics AI rollout and notify counsel. Risk management estimates fines up to $1.5 million, not to mention reputational damage." Marcus turned his glare on me, like I'd unleashed a bomb in his tea. "Mr. Alvarez," he said, voice low, "explain yourself." I rose, hands calm at my sides. "Yesterday morning you fired me for misalignment of priorities citing core deliverables over accessibility. Yet you chose to proceed without final calibration or legal sign-off on the ASL module. I deployed the compliance checker because, as you're about to learn, neglecting accessibility isn't just unethical, it's illegal." A few jaws dropped. The CFO leaned forward. "You? What?" I laid out the trap succinctly. Watermark tags unique to NDF data, embedded compliance logs triggered by any deployment, real-time export to ClearSign's secure legal endpoint. You used my code untested in staging and disabled manual review. Now you're facing regulatory fines, client lawsuits, and worst of all, a breach of trust with the deaf community. I deployed my patch, so you'd have to call me back. Silence. Then Marcus's face went white. You blackmailed me." I squared my shoulders. "Protection, I call it. You fired the only person who could sign with our deaf clients, then robbed them of the one solution I'd crafted to bring them on board. You left me no choice but to ensure you'd regret it, and you do." He sank into his chair, trembling. "Legal. What are my options?" Patel cleared her throat. "Settle quickly. Negotiate with DevNexus for an emergency consultancy agreement, full legal indemnity, immediate vesting of your deferred bonus, and a clause adding Manuel Alvarez as senior accessibility advisor with equity in the Diagnostics AI venture. Otherwise, we face fines, class action suits from deaf rights groups, and a PR collapse." Marcus exhaled. "Get me their terms." 2 hours later, I sat across from Linda Chen in her downtown law office, Marcus's deposition just concluding with Linda as mediator. My Cornish Rex cat circled my ankles under the table, a constant companion for remote work, purring as I reviewed our demand sheet. Consulting fee, Linda read, $250,000 per quarter. Indemnity for all ASL module deployments. Immediate vesting of Manuel's 2020-2022 RSUs. And 5% equity in Diagnostics AI LLC. She looked up. "Marshall and Company accepts. Except the fee is capped at $200K per quarter and equity at 3%. They'll also appoint you to an advisory board, but only for 6 months." I tapped my pen. Maria, from ClearSigns, sat beside me, texting the final ask. I glanced at Linda. "That's non-negotiable," I said. "ASL expertise isn't fungible, and 3% undervalues impact liability, minimum 5%. Linda's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then back at me. They've caved. 5%. Fee unchanged. I nodded. Done. By week's end, the emergency consultancy was signed. My badge lit up. Senior Accessibility Advisor. I had equity in the venture, indemnity from liability, and a retainer guaranteeing my involvement until Diagnostics AI's GA launch, slated Q4. Marcus himself affixed my signature block in the org chart. I walked back through Sullus Tech's gleaming halls. My halls again, not a former mediate, or nothing. Every security checkpoint greeted me. Welcome back, Mr. Alvarez. My face hurt from smiling. That afternoon, I convened a quick stand-up in the innovation lab. We're prioritizing ASL calibration tests, compliance audit reports, and ADA-friendly UI redesign. We go live in 2 weeks, legally and ethically snow clean. Our next milestone, fully certified Stage 2 deployment for NDF in January. Applause. High fives. I felt the old thrill leading the innovation I'd birthed, no longer sidelined. The NDF email thread pinged, "Thank you, Mr. Alvarez, for your swift response. We look forward to final testing." 2 months later, Diagnostics AI debuted to rave piloting reviews. Executives from Kaiser, the VA, and CHOP called to license the ASL features. The PR splash called it a landmark in deaf-friendly healthcare. The stock soared 7% in a day. Marcus, in a penned interview, credited Manuel Alvarez's visionary leadership. My name in lights. That evening, ClearSign's HQ hosted a small celebration. I raised a glass of Prosecco. Maria clinked mine. To the trap that caught a titan, and to the advisor who saved himself. I laughed, a genuine release. And to the future we'll forge one sign at a time. Because when your voice is wired in code, when your expertise cannot be erased, no firing can silence you. And sometimes, the only way to be heard is to leave behind a trap no one sees coming.